Hi, everyone.
Hi, Anne.
Hi.
Hi. If you can hear me, I want a thumbs up. Those at the back, if you were in a seminar physically, I want to speak to you too. You can use the icons for thumbs. I want to make sure that everyone can hear me. I can see Jabulani. Valentine, can you hear me?
Lucy and Annette and Novella all have the thumbs up, so we're good to
go. Okay. I'll go right and start by introducing myself. Thank you so much, Cindy. It's my pleasure and an honor to be here today for this masterclass. I'm remembering when I was getting ready for it in the morning, I was like, remember when we were in primary and the first session in school used to be, I think from 8 to 11, we'd have our first break time used to be at 11. And depending on how the teacher would be, would look forward to break time. So I hope we are not looking forward to break time. I hope that I'll be able to deliver this in the most practical way. It's going to be quite interactive. So yeah, let's do this. I'm just trying to get, I hope everyone can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. I'll start by introducing myself. My name is Anne Obure, the founder at Startups and Students, and also founder at Ogelea Masters Africa. So I'm passionate about two things. Like I was telling Cindy, I'm either in the water or online. I'm rarely on land. So I love swimming, everything to do with swimming. I still swim competitively at my age. Just like there's a master class today, we also have masters swimming. So I love being in that space and just like unwinding and at the same time also making money as a swim coach. For startups, I'm an enthusiast. I work with startups from ideation stage all the way to okay. So yeah, this is what we're going to talk about today, and I'm going to take us through the ways that we can actually make cash and be able to run with our ideas. For those who are already having theirs running, how to scale to the next step. So yeah, that's in a nutshell, that's all about me now. So as we go, I'll keep learning about you guys, your passions, because I want this class to be what you need. Like practically, we're going to even use your ideas as examples as I'm teaching. So yeah, it's exciting. Looking forward to all this. So let's start by the deliverables for today. So we'll go through fundraising at length, and this will include first by monitoring and evaluating your project, your business, your idea, whatever that you want to raise funds for, what it is, what it isn't, so that we are able to be spot on what we are doing. Then we'll do practical ways of raising these funds for your project, types of agencies that offer funding, because even when you're raising the funds, you want to know who you're going to and what to expect from them. And then the pros and cons of funding agencies. Yeah, just to teach you how to protect yourself and how to protect your idea or your project, that you do not lose it or it is not changed. Then we are going to do, the second session will be on proposal writing, do's and don'ts of proposal writing. Then we'll go step by step. As I guide us, we are going to use examples from my projects and your projects, where you work, we'll use all that. And then we'll get tips, basic tips of how the layout should be. And then we dive into the structure of the proposal. So it will be like in 3 sessions, because also the structure will take us quite a bit of time, because anyway, that's the reason we are going through all this, that we are able to come up with a good proposal at the end of the day and manage to raise the funds that we require for the business. Okay. let's start by straight up going to fundraising. We are going to start from what we know. For you to be able to raise funds, you have to know first. I mean, you start with what you know in terms of, you know, your project. You should know how much you need. You should know where these people who are able to raise to remove funds to give towards your project, where are they found, what's their profile. You know, you just have to, so that you don't spend a lot of time going for people, for the wrong people. And also when you're marketing, because you know that we are going to use a lot of marketing skills in this, you don't waste funds and, you know, time in areas where you will not get the funds that you require. So by starting from the known, we are going to start with our project. So here I will use, let me see. Let me start with Klaus. Klaus, you said you do something in photography. Am I right?
Please come again. You said something with South Africa.
No, I said you mentioned something to do with photography.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yes. So now I can use that as an example here when you're analyzing. Briefly describe for us what you do with the photography.
Using these elements.
No, I'll use the elements, but I want to know your photography. Do you take photography for sale? Is it product photography, wildlife?
It's more of corporate photography.
Aha, corporate.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
now I'm going to give examples of how to evaluate your project. Maybe you want to expand and be able to do photography for BBC. That's an example. And maybe they're having a function in Kenya. So the first thing you should do is find out, you're already a native here. So you're able to know what exactly is going to attract BBC and what is not going to. So you're going to use these strengths in the proposal that you write to BBC. For instance, where we are known for wildebeest migration. So that being a strength, you make sure that in your proposal, you bring that out to stand out as something that BBC is going to be interested in. And while you're doing that, you're able also to you know, to you it's effortless, because already you're using the stronger sides of the photography rather than blindly telling BBC that, yeah, you come to Kenya and I'll offer you photography. If it comes to a weak area, if you know that BBC is supposed to pay for the whole project and you require a better camera, for instance, then you're able to describe that and say the reason you need them on board is because you need this and this as material to make their experience more memorable. So you're able to find that weak area in your photography industry or in your project and say that you require this kind of camera, blah, blah, blah. So sometimes we always see weaknesses as things we should hide, but when you're writing a proposal or when you're going out to look for funds, this is where you leverage on the things that you need to make your project a success. Opportunities. When you're talking about your project and listing down all the opportunities that you reach for them, whoever you're going to approach for this funding and everything, will give you more chances of getting the funding. Most of the time, I always say that when I'm going to knock an office and maybe ask for something, I'm not the only one who knocks that office. So I have to do it in a way that they will remember me. So when you're stating the project, also include other opportunities that may be in line with your project, may be complementing your project, so that it shows how it's not just about one idea, but there are many other things that can come from that. I know these are basics that we've done in business and all that, but yeah, these are things that we have to remind ourselves. I always say, every time I'm going into a new proposal, I act as though I'm starting from what is a proposal. then I'm working. That's what I'm saying. We're starting from the known as we go to the unknown. So that by the time you're writing the document, we're not doing a general thing. We're not going to Google and saying proposal sample, and then we're just changing the dollar to shillings, and we're changing the project. Maybe it's an agriculture, an agro business, and they're changing it into a tech. You know, just trying to be as natural as you can with your project will increase attractiveness for funding. Threats. Important to know the factors affecting your project negatively so as to protect it from harm or failure. If I can use an example of Noella. Noella, you're dealing with women in forecourts, right?
Yes.
Yes, so if I can think from the top of my head, some of the threats you might be encountering could be our African society may be believing that a woman's place is not working out there and making money, you know. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, you are right.
So when you're looking for the funds and you're trying to convince the funder that this project is going to benefit the women positively, you have to also mention the threats, things that are harming your project, that they are able to also know that whatever they are putting their sweat into, their funds, are things that are going to make the purport woman a better woman. And like we always know that when you empower a woman, you've empowered a nation. So you're able to, you know, it's personalizing your project and making sure that they see the gain in it. So you have to actually research on what are the things that are threatening your project.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's move on to, now practical fundraising tips. Here, I'll just be a bit brief because we'll still speak on the different kinds of fundraising that you can do. Create opportunities for potential donors to come to where you are. If I can give examples of how to create these opportunities, when you're looking for the funds, remember that you already have an idea, you have a project in mind, and you yourself, you already know it inside out. So sometimes I believe in going out there and looking for the funders. But if you're able to create a place that they can come and find you, that is also a plus. An example could be a car wash, maybe, for instance. And this car wash, your aim is to create employment for the youth. So what you can do is find a place where you might not need to spend much, but you're able to do a dummy show. Like for instance, you could say, this coming Saturday, we are going to have free car wash at the junction, for instance. You just speak to the junction, Nakumatt Junction. Okay, nowadays, I'm not sure whether, is Nakumatt still at the junction?
Kafu.
So you just get a place where you know your potential, the people you have profiled who are able to give to this drive, usually frequent. If it is at the junction, you speak to them and they secure for you a place where you can come and get their cars cleaned at a price, at a cost that is maybe market price or more affordable. And you just make sure that you're able to do a perfect job. So you see, the potential donors will come and see how these boys and the youth are cleaning the cars, and then they'll be like, wow, I've seen this maybe an e-flyer, I've seen it being advertised online, and this is how good they're doing it, then they'll want to come on board. So such opportunities for potential donors are very good. Another opportunity could be, maybe there is a function that ladies are coming together for, okay, nowadays because of lockdown, there's a bit, okay, let's even say a virtual, let's use a virtual function, and it is for paying. And you just get the organizers of the event, get to know them and tell them that you're going to offer free services in creating something that they require for the function. For instance, it could be, let me think of one that we've done. Okay, I'll think of one that was online the other day about the youth, children and drug abuse and the effects of the pandemic, lockdown and schools being closed on the youth, the teenagers. You could find the organizers of the event and tell them that you are already working with the youth. For instance, Anne, you're a project development manager, but you said also that you worked with an NGO that is youth empowerment. So when you register for such a function online, feel free to email them back and say, I'm also working with the youth. And if they need any information, more information, you're willing to give it pro bono. This is going to open up for you an avenue where you're going to meet people like you, and potential donors might also buy into your idea. Tell your story wherever and whenever. You never know who could be listening. There's a children's home that's part of the board in Kakamega. And when I started off it's I think 3-4 years ago, I was thinking, okay, I'm a board member. Board members are supposed to be, like I used to think they're supposed to be the money behind these things, the funders and everything. So when they approached me to be a board member and they said we have to fundraise for the children's home, I used to wonder how does one go around this, come around this. Then I just started talking about it. You could talk about it in family events, you could talk about it with people you meet out there, even in social gatherings. And I remember there is once I was talking about it in a bus. I was on my way to Uganda and I kept talking about this children's home. The topic was about how there are so many children who are in the streets. And I was like, yeah, we've managed to get some into a home. And little did I know that the people listening, or rather the person listening, who had been looking to invest his, actually to give back. And he thought, why not? Especially this is a county that is not, it's not Nairobi per se, where most people, the CSRs, maybe it's easier for them to go to a children's home that's near where their offices are. So when you're talking about your project, you never know who's listening. As we speak, we got a lifetime partner, and he's able to give to the children's home in terms of books. We get books from their organization, and yeah, that was something. You raise funds, sometimes it does not have to be the cash, but the fact that we are able to get the books, we do not have to have books in our budget, because now the home also have a school. So when you're speaking about your project, always make sure that you're giving it in detail. If it is something that you need now, talk about it. Even with, when you're talking about it, talk about it in detail in terms of, maybe you can be talking about, let me see. I want to use a different example. Lucy, you said you're a finance officer. In that NGO, I'm sure whatever you're doing, if you now maybe you're meeting in circles with other NGOs or other financial officers in your field, you're able to talk about the projects that you're doing and just what is allowed for you to speak out, be able to talk about it. Because you're the best ambassador for your project. Remember, this is something that has been in your head, something that has marinated, you've dreamt about it. I always tell people, I dream, sometimes I sleep and I dream that I'm swimming and I'm drowning, things like that. So that means swimming is in my mind most of the time. So if if that is what I've marinated in, it's very easy for me to talk about it with people. And never shy about your project. Some people will talk down, like you'll speak to someone and they talk down. What I always tell people, when you get a negative reaction, take it, go back to the drawing board. Ask yourself why. If you find that this is a legit negative reaction, an example being opening a pork shop in a Muslim neighborhood. So okay, and it's funny that I'm saying that, and I think there's like a pig here. Anyway, so when you find that negative reaction, go back to the drawing board. Ask yourself, why does this person feel this way about my project? If really it is just something that is a setback and not really something legit, then dust yourself, move on with the project, and go at it. At least speaking about it made you get to know whether it is something to move on with or something to abandon. And then buy and sell fast moving items in line with your business or project. This way you'll increase your capital as your brand is also exposed to potential markets. Back to Noella. While you're working with these purport women, are there things that they make like with their hands, artwork?
We plan to start beadwork because we culturally we wear beads, and also if things work out well, we are going to set up a honey processing. Not really a plant, but because we get a lot of honey, and I've realized the market is now like it's a product that can really sell. So we'll probably on this year October we are going to at least process the honey and sell out. So that will be for women empowerment in terms of economy.
That is great. I was just thinking about it. There's a time we had a project in Marsabit. That was just after I had cleared campus many years ago. And I remember we wanted to do a project, a water project. This was more of a religious, I could call it missions. It was a mission organization, an NGO, that wanted to better the lives of women in Marsabit. And I remember when we came up with we wanted to dig a borehole, but because the project was bigger than us, we were a team of maybe seven of us. So we decided that we are going to come up with projects that are going to raise money. Might not be what we need as 100%, but while we are doing that, we are also, it's like a brand awareness. The people around there are getting to know that we exist. The women there are starting to warm themselves up to us because we really wanted to empower them that they're able to, become even better mothers and to have a voice in decision making in the home as well as in the community. So what we did for this fundraising, we came back to Nairobi. We spoke to a few of our friends and family and said that we want to start by teaching these women some basic skills. So I remember I had to also learn how to make this, they're called what, unfinished mats, this like toilet mats and what. So we would buy we used our own cash to buy the material, but now the women were the ones making these items, and then we still come back to Nairobi and other cities to sell the items. True to it, we were able to raise almost 30% of what we required to do the borehole. And the reason why this other 70% was not a fail, we were, Equity was able to see what we were doing, Equity in Marsabit, and I think there was also a church, I may not remember which one it was, and they decided that they will cover the remaining 70%. And also, with projects like borehole, there's also government that is involved, government institutions and permits. So while we were at selling our small items that were moving, and we were also able to go and do like sales, we used to have market days at Marsabit, and we show what the women have done, and we're able to sell those things. That way, the government saw it's like we legitimized ourselves. Now that they were able to see that we are not here just for what's it called, crusades and all that. So they were able to support what we were doing, and finally the borehole was dug and the women were able to access water. So this is a way of fundraising where you start with things that are at your reach. You're able to do, if you're working with the youth, you're able to maybe do t-shirts, you're able to do this armbands. I remember there was a project we did for kids. It's a slum near where I stay, and we discovered that the children were not going to school, some of them, because of lack of money, or it was just not, they were just not going to school. And so we decided to just gather the kids that we could, and we gave, we bought armbands that were they already branded, just for awareness. But after that, we told the kids that we can actually customize and make for them bands that have maybe their color or their football team or their names, and then they're able to sell these armbands at 50 bob, 30 bob, and then whatever they make, they're able to go to school. And you know, this is also a way of teaching them business. I always say it's never too early to learn business, because that is it's an attribute that we need in everything that we are doing. So you see, for this child to be able to be involved in the process of coming up with the cash, then this child will also use this cash wisely, because they're seeing the effort. Sometimes the armbands would cut, or now we had now brought also beadwork, some beads that we used to get from town. So the older kids were maybe 18, 19, we are able to go with them to where we purchase the beads. We tell them this is how you bargain for the beads if you're doing, if you're buying many and all that. So these small items were able to get us, we were able to raise funds. While we were at it, other institutions within, like already there were, what are they called? Established institutions, saw the efforts, and they were like, we'd like what you people are doing. How about we also mentor these kids on other areas? So you see, the burden was lifted from us, and those now what we could say the potential donors, and those are markets that we explored, and yeah, we got it was a win-win for both, because our aim was for the children to be in school and to be mentored. So what I'm saying is, these are ideas that sometimes seem, they may come to our minds and you're like, that is too little. Like another example I'll give is eggs. Eggs are fast moving items. I think each household in Nairobi at some day or at some point, they have eggs for either breakfast or lunch or dinner. So if you're coming up with a project that is agro, and you feel like you still need to build your capital, let's say, for instance, you want to rear chicken, you may start by being a retailer of eggs. And maybe from each egg, you might be making 2 shillings. From each tray, you might be making 10 to 15 shillings. But because it is a fast moving item, you're able to start building your capital, so that by the time you're starting the project, or you might even find that the project might end up being eggs all through, but at least you started from a fast moving item as you move on to building the capital. I hope I'm still with you.
Yes, and this is exciting.
Okay. All right, so now I want us to go to step by step, the ideas, and I listed them in a way that we can start from idea, when the idea is still in the mind, all the way up to when finally you're, if it is a profit making, you're already paying taxes. If it's non-profit making, you're already attracting investors and everything, and donors and all that. So the ideas will start with the friends and family. This is your inner circle. Remember that these are people who have seen, they know you, and of course they have trust in you. And I'm hoping we are all people who can be trusted. And therefore, these are people who you do not have, when you approach them, you do not have to start by, hi, my name is Anne. and I love swimming. They already know your name and they already know your passion or whatever idea that you come up with. So the easiest way of starting off is usually using friends and family. However, I always have a disclaimer on this. First of all, remember that there's something called fatigue, donor fatigue, and I'll explain that as we go. So when you are approaching your friends and family to help you raise funds in whatever you're doing, make sure that you have the process already defined from the beginning to the end. And this is what I mean. Maybe I want to start a daycare, and I have a degree in early childhood. I mean, I've already done what is required on my side to start a daycare. And now what I require is maybe a house to rent, because if it is a residential daycare, and I require the items, like if you're starting from maybe 3 months old babies to all the way to 6, you need a baby cot, you need play pens, you need all these things that you need. So by the time you're approaching your family and friends, have this written, defined completely, from the spoons in the kitchen to maybe at the van you might require to pick and drop these children. Then you put them all and you list them with how much is required for everything. So that by the time maybe family, for instance, it could be a sister, it could be a spouse, decides that I'm going to help you in acquiring the baby cot, you already know you need 4. So maybe someone will say, I will pay for one, e.g., etc., etc. Then someone else will say, at the moment, what I can help you in is the cups. So someone else takes the cups. So what happens is you're building your capital in terms of the goods you require, and at the same time, you're not going back to them. Like for instance, you're not going to a family, a member or a friend and telling them, I require a cup. Then they bring cups. Then next week you say, oh, we don't have spoons to stir the cups. So you don't want to make these people feel like you're a leech. So just have the project all laid out, and it's simple. You don't have to go into because family and friends now, you don't even have it. It doesn't have to be a business plan per se, but you're able to list down to them, and they take according to their strengths. So this inner circle sometimes will even give you more of emotional support and psychological rather than the cash itself. They could also give you ideas. Oh, Anne, you want to start this? I know someone who is having a garage sale of such items, and you can get them at half the price, and these are good quality. Or I know how I can get for you XUK products of this and that. Or I'm actually in the industry of making pillows and mattresses, so I can donate part of that to you. So when you're going to friends and family, be as what is called, you can be yourself, because they already know you, and say the areas of need, and also tell them the areas that you've already covered. Maybe you've already been able to secure a good house or a good room where these children can stay, and you're already paying rent for it. Yeah, you show them what you've already done and where you require more help. Peer to peer. This is the one where you're asking friends and family to share with their networks. When you're raising funds using peer-to-peer, I would advise that you already have a very good flyer. With our times right now, e-flyers work equally okay. So if you're, and I love the fact that even with these friends and family, some of them we are already in WhatsApp circles, WhatsApp groups where we are together, we share good and bad times, we are able to talk. So they already know what you're doing. So by the time now you are asking a sister or a friend to share with their circles, then you can do this by just representing your idea in a flyer. And the flyer should be, of course, catchy, legible. You don't want to put a lot of writing. And on it also state what you require and remember to put your contact. The reason I always say the flyers, I'm big on e-flyers, and I always say an e-flyer is like a minute proposal. Like you're already speaking to the world about your idea, but in one page, in like a small piece. So be careful to have your, if it is already a project that is registered as a company, make sure you have your logo and your colors. State the name of the project in layman's language, like they're able to just read and see what you require. And then make sure it has your contact. It could be a phone number, it could be an email address, but how people can reach you. The reason I'm saying this is flyers go viral. Sometimes I see flyers that I have sent out maybe on behalf of a client and have come back to me maybe within 2 hours. You sent it out in a group and you're like, okay, we are having this webinar on Saturday. And maybe you sent it out at 8 a.m. and people are register and through a link, blah, blah. And at 1 p.m., I'm getting the same flyer back to me. Someone is sending it to me and says, Anne, I think this is something you may be interested in. So you can imagine if that flyer did not have a number or a contact, then I might have to start asking that person, oh, how can I get in touch, blah, blah, blah. So peer-to-peer is very powerful because it has a ripple effect. You're able to reach so many people. They say that your next is it contact is 5 people away. Is it 4 or 5 people away? Your next big break. So maybe the 5th person is actually the company or the people you have always wanted to bring on board. So make sure it is well branded. Email campaigns. With email campaigns, most of the time, I tell my people, my clients, that the best way to use this as a fundraising method is using emails that you have already interacted with, so your target audience. And if not, your introduction letter has to really be profound. And by the time you're writing this email, you should be able, you should know that it is a hit or miss. This is it. There was a time emails were the only way to communicate, but nowadays we have very many other avenues. So when you're doing an email campaign about your project, introduce your project in maybe a paragraph, because again, nowadays in the first 5-10 seconds, you're able to attract someone or not, depending on what you're talking about. And also in the email, be sure to have an attachment, which again will take me back to the e-flyer or poster or whatever it is that you have created. There's something to visual, to pictures, that makes someone want to be part of something. So apart from just the writing, make sure you have an attachment. The other day, I was talking to a receptionist, a company that I consult for, and she was reading her emails, and especially as administrator of a company, receives so many emails from people who are looking for work, from people who are looking to supply, to supply stuff to the company. And then, of course, there are important emails maybe for, if she's the PA of the boss also, she cannot miss the email. So I asked her, how are you able to go through all your emails and not miss out on the important one and know which one to delete? And then this was her answer. She looks at the what's it called, title, the not title, it's usually name and then what? Subject, thank you. She looks at the subject of the email, and the next thing she looks at is whether there's an attachment. And nowadays, especially for Google, and I've seen also other intranet emails, you're able to view the attachment without necessarily opening the email. So she usually arranges the emails in a way that the ones with attachments come to the top, and then she opens the attachment. The attachment will tell her whether she should read that email or not. So again, just the same way with peer-to-peer, make sure that whatever you're attaching to the email fully describes your project, fully describes who you are. Of course, people buy into the project as well as buy into you. So when she opens this flyer and she does not like it, for sure she's not going to open the email. So make sure that the flyer, I mean the attachment, it could also be a profile of yourself or your company. It doesn't have to be a flyer. It could be a profile just neatly written, describing your objective of the project and everything. It could be a one-pager if it is someone you dealt with before and maybe asked you to send them an email. Maybe you already spoke to them on phone and followed it up with a text, and then they said, wow, I like what you're doing, kindly send me an email. Then that way you can use that email campaign to also include your profile. And that one now you can go into detail. And also you can, what we are going to do next in this class, the proposal that we are going to write, you can include it in this email. So that by the time you have written this email, you want to give the potential donor everything in terms of paper or in terms of in terms of an article that you are not able to give them physically. And most of the emails, if possible, you can end by, in the introduction, I mean, in the body of the email, you can sign out by saying you're available for a meeting to discuss more. Always an open door that you're able to meet these people eye to eye. And yeah, that way you're able to also sell your project and your ideas to them well. The other day, we were having an argument with someone about visa. For those who have been to an interview for visa, let me ask randomly, especially, let me look for who I'm going to ask here. Mary Njoroge.
Yes.
Okay. Well, at least now you're the one in international relations and diplomacy. Maybe you can demystify this for me. When I'm going for an interview for visa application, I usually prefer the ones where I can sit na kujitetea. I can actually talk back to a human contact. I'm able to talk. She'd ask me, why are you going to the UK? For how long do you want to be there? As opposed to the ones where you go online, you fill a step-by-step document that you submit at the end, and then you physically take the documents to the embassy, and then you wait 2 weeks to know whether you've gotten the visa or not. Which of you think is more effective?
I think the first one works. The one that you go, you present yourself and you present your case. But I also think various embassies look for various things. Okay, I've ever been applying for a visa at some point. Yes, you have to fill in the forms because they have these specific requirements they need, that specific documents they need from where you're going. But also you also need to present yourself now, but I would prefer a mix of both.
Aha. That's exactly what we came up with. There's pros and cons of both. For instance, this one that you go and present yourself personally, sometimes, and which is not a good excuse, maybe having a bad day. Not a good excuse, but you might find the way you present yourself, you might undersell yourself, or you might forget to talk about something that they're looking for. Yet the one where you have to send your documentation and then wait 2 weeks for an answer, because you know you do not have that chance to be there in person, you'll be able to attach everything. I remember there's one I was doing for Leeds, and I attached everything, including my certificate for kindergarten. And I remember when they were getting back to me, they were like, wow, we practically know everything about you. And I was thinking maybe if I was there physically, I would not have even spoken about my high school, leave alone kindergarten. So you're right. When you're talking about when you've been given a chance to present yourself in written form, take that chance. Attach everything, especially when it is virtual, like emails. It's not that it is going to be a heavy envelope. It's something that someone has a choice. Maybe they might want just to see your certification. Maybe they might want to see your resume. And by the way, nowadays you can always have a one pager about you, and within that you can have everything that is in your resume. And also LinkedIn has made it easier. If you have a LinkedIn account, you're able to export it as PDF, and that acts really well about what you're doing. And we'll talk about that before we end this. So as I run through, the next one is social and industry events. For now, even something like this. Right now we are how many? Let me check here. We are 16. Can you imagine, the more we are talking about what we are doing now, 16 of us are aware that Klaus does photography, 16 of us know that Noella is working with women in Pokot, 16 of us know that Tobias is there in Western or Nyanza?
I think he said Western, but he's here.
Western. Okay,
Flip.
yeah. So you can imagine already your project is being sold out to 16 people. Like now, if I need anything done in Pokot, why should I go on Google? I'm going to look for Noella. For as much as she's dealing with women, whatever project I might need, she'll know what I'm supposed to do, how I'm going to go about it, you know? So these are now the events about. Some of them are paid events, some of them are not, but I always say, like what we've written on our blackboard on the right, small actions times lots of people equals to big change. So remember that we are looking for funds, but these funds are being found in the hands of human beings. Even if it's a big company, it's still run by human beings. So social and industry. When you're talking about Carol, you're in Microsoft for software engineers. Great. It's funny because I also did software engineering in campus. So if you're in this tech space, Carol, and especially for techies, you guys already knew about virtual stuff even before us. Some people have been brought into this virtual arena because of the pandemic and all that. However, what you do with the virtual space also matters. Events right now are more virtual than physical. So when you're in that space, find out, like sometimes the other time when I was trying to build my app and I was busy with Pakistani companies and everything, and then I got into an incubator where there were young upcoming Kenyan software engineers who their research work, or rather their projects for the course they were doing, they needed to come up with an app. That is a good space to be in, where I tell them, okay, fine, try and get this app done for me. And of course, I'm going to their remuneration towards them, but I'll definitely have saved, because the back and forth in Pakistan could be more costly. At the end of the day, you don't know whether you're dealing with real people or not. And this is not to downplay international business. But what I'm saying is sometimes you find yourself that you attend a social gathering, or you're together with people in your industry, and they are the answer to your problem, to your next available, your next need per se. So you might not have to spend as much as you thought you would. Rewards, if you're doing something and already you have attracted a few people, you're able to give incentives to the one who has already bought into your idea. For instance, if I come back to the egg business, if I'm getting my eggs at maybe a tray at 300 bob, that means an egg is at 10 shillings. And then I'm selling my tray at market rate. Market rate could be 350, 360. Annette, how much are eggs at your place? A tray? 330. 330. Great. So that means each egg is giving me 10 bob. Is it 10 bob? No, a bob, sorry. Each egg, I've bought each egg at 10 bob and it's giving me a shilling. So if I'm buying it at 300 shillings and I'm selling it at 330 shillings, and I'm selling the eggs to Lucy. So Lucy buys my eggs at, maybe she's a baker and she needs 10 trays a week. And then people who come to Lucy's bakery and they know that she sells cakes, keep asking her, Lucy, do you sell eggs? Lucy, every time Lucy says, no, I don't sell eggs. No, I don't. But can you imagine if Lucy is your client who buys 10 trays of eggs every week, if you're able to ask Lucy to be, if you tell Lucy, if you get me clients who are going to request for eggs, then I'm going to sell you a tray at 320. So in short, you're giving Lucy 33% of your profit, which is 10 shillings, and you're still retaining 66% of your profit, which is 20 shillings. So in short, you're getting extra clients through Lucy's cakes. Am I making sense?
Absolutely.
Yes, you are.
So that is an incentive you can use in fundraising. So and maybe where you have reached whatever profit Lucy is giving you, 10 trays is giving you 100 bob, and you have 10 Lucy's who come every day, for instance. And these are practical examples because I've been in that industry. I've sold eggs to my neighbors. And if already, like I used to tell people in a business, we have a month to do the business. The first week of the business should be enough to pay for the business needs, like if you're paying rent, if you are incurring transport expenses in this time where everything is being delivered to the doorstep and so forth and so on. So you want to reach a place where you're raising funds to make this business grow. And at the same time, you're also you're giving incentives to those who have already invested in your business. Another example is Noella's empowerment of women. If Noella comes to Nairobi and she requires companies to help her with these women, examples would be maybe they need sanitary pads. Another example would be they require education, gumbaro, like they just need to know how to count the money they are making. Based, I always say, so long as you can count money and you know your name, that the money belongs to you, you are at a good place to raise funds. So when she comes to Nairobi, what Noella can do is tell Anne, if you invest this much in these women, we will be able to provide you with beadwork. You'll get this regalia head to toe. And you know how I love those things, like the beads and everything. They come and say, we'll get you this. This is the starter pack for your investment. And then to top it up, you will have pure organic honey delivered to you every month. So you can look at it this way. The pure organic honey may be a jar, 800-gram jar that is going for maybe 400 shillings. But what Anne is willing to invest every month could be 5,000 shillings partnership. So you can also put your project into, you can have different partnership levels where there's someone who's investing 1,000 shillings and there's also a company investing 100,000. So that you're able to cater for everyone who is buying into your idea and can afford this much. So when you're doing memberships and everything, this helps also in long-term fundraising, whereby this person knows I have a standing order for Noella, for Nokot, for Pokot every month, as opposed to waiting for the end of the year, where you're going to require a big fundraising event. And maybe during that time is when Anne wants to go on holiday in Hawaii or to go to Shag, or that's even the time she's coming together with family. So for as much as Anne might want to buy into Noella's idea, she may not be available. But if you have this free product, I call them free though they're paid for, but there are incentives that are periodically being delivered to Anne. She'll always remember every time the jar of honey hits her doorstep, she knows that I need uh, to send 5,000, 10,000, 1,000 shillings to Pokot. Those are ways of rewarding. If I could work also with people who are employed, like for instance, Lucy. Lucy, you're working for the NGO, and especially with NGOs, you already, I may be wrong, but most of the time, maybe the funds precede the project. So when the funds come in and then you're able to do the project, you're supposed to report back how the funds were used, and if there is an excess, it should be surrendered back, or it can be forwarded to the next project. So in such cases, you could even have incentives that are not monetary. You could have, these people could have badges, like for instance, what Facebook is doing now about people who keep liking your page. They could be part of a club, or you can make them feel, it actually fancies somebody's ego when you keep mentioning them, when you keep showing them that they're part of this project. So it could just be you keep telling them thank you in many ways, or when you're doing your projects and making sure that their logos are included. If it is a video that you're doing in line with your project, you get back to them and tell them we are doing this video and we can give you 5 minutes to talk about your company. And then that way it's a win-win, where you're not going to spend money back at them in form of incentive, but they are going to save because you're giving them platforms where they can market themselves, something of the sort. Pitch contests, this is one of my favorites. There are so many contests online, especially now that there are companies, some of them do them as CSR, some of them are philanthropists that want to invest in companies. And sometimes I'm glad I was born in Africa, more so in Kenya, because when you go online and you look for these contests, you'll be surprised that most of them really favor us. And sometimes most people don't know about them. Being a LinkedIn guru, I'm able to find most of these contests that I can also, in the future, we can share and other online platforms. Sometimes it could even be going around in social media platforms, Facebook, sometimes, especially, what is this, offer, anyway, I'll get it. So, or even WhatsApp groups. So when you get to these contests, don't delete them, don't brush them off. One of the things you need to do is, first of all, go through these prerequisites. What does the contest need? Some of them are gender-based, so they might say they want women-led companies or a woman-led project. So in most projects, maybe you're not a one-man show. If you're 3 of you and 1 of you is a woman, this is the time when you're pitching for this contest, you make sure that the woman's name is at the top. If it is for the youth, let's say 35 and below, and you have this project that you're doing, and 2 of you are youth and 1 of you maybe is, yesterday I was called a fossil in some youth group. So if you know you have a fossil like Anne and you're pitching for a contest that wants 35 years and below, make sure Anne is not at the top of the pitch. So these are a place also where you leave the proposal. The good thing is most of the pitch contests nowadays are online, so it's a step-by-step format. However, when you're filling up those step-by-steps, you'll discover that it's exactly the same. They're using the same steps as we are going to talk about proposal writing in different languages, but it's still the same thing. So again, you will need your proposal open as you're filling in the contest. And these contests, most of the time, these are monies that you do not pay back. So you'll have raised funds for your company, which you do not have to pay interest for. Sorry about that. Okay, so we had not finished. Number 7 is grant funding, also where proposals are needed. For the funding, especially if it's grants, this is one of our projects that could already be running, or you already have the ideation process is complete, and maybe you've already come up with, if it is a product that you want to sell, you already have a sample, or if it is a service that you are providing, you already have stories and people you have provided the service for and it has worked. So this is when when your project has already hit the ground and is able, now it wants to expand, or now you want to go to other regions, or you want to include maybe a different product to complement what you're doing. And then social media outreach. Broadcast your activities in all your social media platforms, and people will proactively want to be part of a race that's doing well. Annette.
Yes.
Kindly name for me the social media platforms that you are in.
LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram.
Okay.
WhatsApp.
Nice. The reason I've picked you is because Jablani has mentioned that you have really been talking about the masterclass and Village to Nation. And already that's a very good thing, and keep it up. And now to Cindy, because I believe as much as you're me here as facilitator, I know that is going to, it's a way that is going to bring more people into Village to Nation. And it is going to be, it's such a natural way because you are not physically involved in it.
Absolutely. And thank you, Annette.
So,
I ordered a drink or something.
yeah, Annette, I'll follow up on that to make sure that you have been made, you've been given a loyal pledge.
Lol.
Okay, so now there's someone, Valentine. Valentine, I didn't get to know what you do.
And there's also someone who typed on the chat box. So perhaps if you could just check the chat box and see. Oh, Valentine said that she's in a remote area and her connection is a bit shaky. So I think she left. And Wangeshi had also typed in the chat box, but I think she also stepped out because of internet issues. So, okay.
I'm still here.
Oh, you there? I'm sorry. I'm not seeing your name coming up on the chat box. So I thought it's grayed out. So I thought you had stepped out. But thank you for speaking up. Apologies for kicking you out inadvertently. Okay, good.
That's okay.
Okay. Just a second here. Okay. So that's fine. The reason I wanted to use Annette, because already that's practically what I was going to explain about the social media outreach. Social media is quite powerful now more than ever. And you could be in it for the wrong reasons also. Like I keep telling people, I post on Facebook maybe once a day, but I rarely visit Facebook. Like you'll rarely find me scrolling people's pages like to see what they're doing. But when I'm on Facebook, I'm looking at what are the upcoming events, how is my post faring on, because I'm able to see how many people have viewed my post. And the reason why Facebook is a good platform is because, like, we started with friends and family as inner circle. So that's the place where I'm sure you have your friends and family literally as your friends. And also this expands to your peers in terms of people you went to school with, people you're working with, people you have things in common, and the ripple effect for peer to peer. Because now if I'm a friend to Cindy, then I'm able to see seen these friends reacting on her posts, and I'm able to find people who we are like-minded. So these are places you want to be in. Don't feel like they're time wasting. It's up to you to determine how you're going to spend your time on Facebook, how you're going to spend your time on IG. One thing I like about Instagram is while the teenagers are busy making dark faces and funny things and getting 1,000 likes, you could be busy sharing your flyer. You could be busy sharing a short video of your garage sale. That's another way you can make money. You once had a child and now he's 8 years and you still have his potty. The other day, when my son's potty was lying around, and then he looked at it and then he asked me, "Mommy, what is this?" And I was like, "Actually, what am I doing with this?" So, these are things, you just wash them well, you disinfect them, you do whatever it takes and make them look new, and then you sell them as gently used. You sell them as gently used items and make money for your project. Sometimes it could even be a car that you're refusing to let go. Your first car, and now you're driving another car, and you have this one just there, having problems with your neighbors as it occupies visitors parking. Yeah, so social media outreaches helps you in keeping in contact with these people also. The other day, someone reached out to me. They needed money for their child's medical bill, and the story seemed very moving. And I actually gave to the okay, I actually gave, but it took me so long to find out where I know the lady from, because she called me by my name and she told me it's been a while, blah blah, and we spoke, but I couldn't figure where I know her from. So anyway, I gave because I wanted to, but sometimes you find that you might reach out to someone you've not spoken to for 20 years and you want to sound as though you spoke to them yesterday and expect them to buy into your idea. So just keeping in touch with these people, sharing your birthday cakes with them virtually, yeah, those things also make you unwind, because sometimes we startup people, we get so engrossed in the project that we forget that we are human beings, that we need human interaction. So social media platforms are really important on this. Yeah, and as Annette has mentioned them, it could be LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Medium. You could be writing your stories, especially if your startup is maybe you want to do books and everything. You can start on Medium. Yeah, I can list them for you at the end of this, so that we see how we can all join them. Okay, so this one here is saying a quote from G.T. Smith: "Donors don't give to institutions; they invest in ideas and people in whom they believe." So as you've seen, you have to portray yourself. You have to represent yourself in a way that the person who you expect to donate or to fund your project is going to believe you and is going to buy into the project. Okay, now here I'll need a lot of, let me see, who have I spoken to here? Anne, my namesake. You deal with solar.
Yes.
Yes, you deal with solar. That's your full-time job?
Yes.
Okay, but now I want us to talk about your youth side.
Okay.
You can see this dog
Yes.
here, and the dog is wearing Marvin. What are they called, Marvin?
Yes.
So I'm thinking, while you're dealing with the youth, this can really be attractive to them, right?
Yes.
So by the time you're what exactly do you do with the youth, by the way? Maybe you can describe for me what you do with the youth.
What we do with the youth is that we train them on governance and public participation, especially with youth participation when it comes to holding their political leaders accountable. Like when they were looking for the votes, they had their manifesto. And so they hold their leaders accountable. Is that you told us you're going to do 1, 2, 3. This far you have been on that position for like 3, 4 years. What have you done? Now they review what their leaders told them, and through that we follow up on whether the leaders are doing what they told the youth that they're going to do for them. We also train them on their rights and also encourage them to vie for these positions, because in most cases the youth are the ones who understand more about the youth challenges and how to address them, other than an old person who will not even know what the youth are going through. So we encourage them and we train them, and we also support them to vie for such positions so that they can be in a better position to help other youths.
Awesome. So from the top of my mind, I'm thinking maybe if you have already worked with this youth to a certain extent, and maybe you have a cohort, let's say of 10 girls and boys that you want to be exposed to international countries, and maybe there's a hearing at The Hague and you want them to attend. So you have to look for a donor who is going to fund this event, right?
Yes.
So when you're approaching these donors, one of the things they'll want to see, yes, they know whatever you're doing, and they've read and they've seen the progress you have done with these 10 youth, and now you've reached a point where you want to expose them, and it's beyond your financial capacity. So you'll be, for you to sell out yourself to these donors, one of the things that they will look at is yourself. How do you believe in these 10 people? So when they ask you questions, you should be able to answer questions about these guys. Maybe they'll ask you, how long has John been living in Nairobi? And you have to be in a position where you're able to say 5 years, 3 months, as opposed to I'm not quite sure. So when you're going to an institution and you're going to approach a donor, make sure that the information you have about your idea is complete, is crisp. You know, you're not having gray areas, you're not stammering, you're not having cooked figures. Like the other day we were doing a project for, and it's required, the proposal required the people applying to be youth below 35 years. So I think when they were grooming themselves, they were able to prove to us that they were below 35 years. But the first question they were asked is, when were you born? And you know, that is at the top of your mind. You might not think twice. So when someone answers their date of birth, then you work it backwards. You're like, that person must be 36 or 37. So these are the things that you have to watch out for when you're approaching funders, that you're able to be clear and truthful, and yeah, it is you that they are buying into, because they believe in the project and they believe in what you're doing. Thank you. So we'll go to point number 9. Don't worry, we are about to take a break. I know I've been on it for a while. So another idea is ask your business school or alma mater, angel networks, incubator and accelerator programs. Okay, so now for instance, we are now in school, we are in class. This is a master class, and we are learning about fundraising. One thing you should know is everywhere that you have been taught from, I believe from when we started going to school, the people who gave the lessons to you have experience in what they're talking about. An example being, you are in campus and maybe you're in your first year and you're being taught about creative thinking. It's a common unit in most universities and colleges. And sometimes we think it's a walkover. I'm just going to do a unit and I'm going to pass. All I need is an A on this. So you might need to keep that contact of the lecturer who spoke to you about creative thinking, because if ever you find yourself in a place where your idea is a way that you have thought out of the box, you have been creative. because one of the, what makes a proposal sell is when you think of something that number one is going to solve your problem and number two is not being done, or even if it is being done, you're thinking of cheaper ways of doing it more effectively. So these people you're interacting with right now, we're interacting with Cindy, we're interacting with Jabulani, among other instructors and vision bearers of this masterclass. These are people you want to have as your contacts. Connect with them on their media platforms, check online for classes that they are offering in other areas, you know. These are people who are going to be able to give you connections, networks to what you need. An angel network, for instance, when you're starting to look for funding, sometimes you need just one investor. It could be someone within Kenya, it could be one in another country who might be doing exactly what you're doing. And guess what? These people are known to us. They're known to I know most of these people. We've been to webinars where we've gotten the chance to interact with them one-on-one. We ourselves have burnt our fingers. We're trying to maybe apply for funding, did not get it, but got a contact. Maybe someone went to buy a Reebok shoe in Gikomba, just an example. And I've gone all the way to Gikomba, I've spent my bus fare, and I've gone to the shoe vendor, and the shoe vendor tells me he does not have Reebok, and he tries to convince me to buy Nike or to buy Fila. I hope Fila still exists. Yesterday I was called a fossil in a group. Anyway, so I might not end up buying the shoe because I require the Reebok and come back home. However, when I'm spending time with my friends or people who I interact with in the sports industry, I might mention that, can you imagine I went all the way to Gikomba to buy Reebok and all I got was Nike. And then I'll find someone there who will say, oh my goodness, I have been looking for Nike or I've been looking for Fila. Please take me or please give me that contact. So the same way, if you have an idea, you can pass it by us, you can pass it by people you're interacting with in this business industry, by your lecturers who have taught you in the past, and they're able to tell you, oh, you mean you have a bronze spoon? I actually have a company that deals in bronze. So if you want the raw material, you can get it at a cheaper price. Or I have a castle in Nanyuki that requires bronze spoons for their guests. So if you were able to service this order, I can connect. That takes me to the next one, crowdfunding. Is a bit technical, but it is doable. One of the things that I say is by the time you want to open a crowdfunding platform, make sure you have something to show for what you're doing. Because you see, this is a chance you're getting to not know you. It's different, like with different experiences, different ages, different, you know. By the time you want to go into such a platform, be able to make sure you have had your idea passed through several people. I would advise that you have maybe advisors around you who are able to direct you in what you can potentially ask for on that crowdfunding. So we'll speak more of that also in the question and answer session. Crowdfunding is good. Mostly I like it because when you're dealing with projects, it's project-based. And nowadays you can get those that even you can use M-Pesa as your final what's it called? Yeah, as you finish. Time before, when crowdfunding began, you had to have a bank account, and you see by the time you're going into bank account, your company has to. There are some requirements that are needed for you. But if you're doing a legit project and you want funding for it from as a crowdfund, nowadays you're able to simply do it. Accelerators and incubators, very important. When you put yourself into something, you've decided that I want to do clothes. I want to make apparel large scale. Maybe I want to do official trousers for the working woman and man. So you find the best way to do such projects is find an accelerator or an incubator that fits what you want to do, and you're able to find people like you to work together with, because some of these things will end up succeeding, but getting orders that you may not be able to service as an individual or as a company. So when you get yourself into these accelerators and incubators, number one, you're able to raise funds as a group. An example is when I started swimming internationally, the ticket, like the ticket to travel and how much you need for the hotel you're going to stay in and all that stuff, because we were self-sponsored, seemed like too much. But the moment we came together, find out some of this information we can find from, like now for my sake, Kenya Swimming Federation. If you're doing something to do with software engineers, I'm sure maybe they have a body. If you're doing something to do with lawyers, also there's an organized body that you can deal with. So when you approach such bodies, you're able to attract more funding per se, if it is a group stuff. Like you can decide one of the way you're going to raise funds to travel is a dinner. So you can choose a hotel. It could be like, if I give a practical example, we did Intercontinental. I don't know whether they are still open. So once you get into, if you're a group, then you know that even when you're hiring a venue, you are all of you are sharing the cost. Let's say, for example, the venue is 10,000 and you are 10 of you who want to do the same project. You're 10 photographers, if you're close. So you're able to come as the 10 photographers. Everyone will only need to remove 1,000 shillings, showcase your work. If one of you, what I always say is you can compliment each other. Maybe Klaus is doing for corporate photography. There's someone else called, maybe James is doing product photography. And then I am doing food photography. Someone else is doing portraits, could be, they're actually doing them by hand and then converting them into photos. Yeah, so when you come together in this incubator, you're able to help each other, learn from each other, and also it's easier for you to raise the funds. Empower lead investors to help you fundraise. Create your brand ambassadors from among those who are with you. Number one, you can decide anyone who purchases something gets a t-shirt or gets a mug or gets an armband. So you're actually able to empower the people around you. I mean, the people who have already bought into your product, so that they're able to speak about you indirectly. Like you can imagine someone who has, maybe you're doing the car wash business and they've allowed you to have to put a bumper sticker, just an example. So you have given them a way to be able to help you raise awareness about your fund. Like maybe the car wash, you had decided that in the car wash, you're going to raise money so that people who are physically abled differently are able to get wheelchairs. So in the bumper sticker, you could write, wash your car today and give someone a wheelchair, or enable someone to move around. Something like that, just creative way of them being able to be your ambassadors. So that is usually it's an easy way to be able to make your business grow in slowly, but you're attracting other people. And if it is a project about the wheelchairs, you're raising the funds. Everyone who sees, like now there's Mombasa Road, lots of traffic. So you can imagine you're in traffic and the car ahead of you has a bumper sticker written, get your car washed at, maybe you can even put the cost if it is something good, get your car washed at this, and help someone get a wheelchair. So someone has been thinking, I need to give back, I don't know where to do so. So that is an idea that you're able to empower your people, your current investors. The other day I saw a very good, or rather I thought of a very good idea, and I went online and I found there are already people doing it. Can you imagine that there are people washing cars in traffic? ideas. There are so many ideas in this world you cannot run out of. So what happens is while you're in traffic and maybe you're running for a meeting and you're late and you're already in traffic. So these boys, although it was not in Kenya, and it's very organized, these boys, they approach you and they can wash it while you're in the car. So they just have something like, it looked like a curtain mover or something. So it blows off the dust, and then they have something that sprinkles the water, and then something that washes. And they were saying it takes less than five minutes for your car to be clean. So those are ideas, and you might find those people started, and the first person told that's outrageous, it cannot happen. But they kept building at it, and yeah, now they're actually making a lot of money in traffic by washing cars. I think it was in Kerala or something, some city in India. Okay, so we're about to go on break, so let me just, we only have these two left. Make press and media appearances, public events, product launches, write articles, record podcasts, attend webinars. Now this one I could say, don't go all out, start with what you can, especially if you're building capital to bring your idea into reality. So start with what you can. Nowadays, even Facebook gives you a platform, you can record yourself. If you can talk, you can speak like most of us, lecturers and teachers. Do podcasts, although this one is limited to only people who listen to podcasts. But can you imagine if you do a podcast and you're able to share it in your social platforms and it goes viral? These are things people need to listen to when they're stuck in traffic. Maybe they're tired of listening to their local radio station. Maybe their radios in the car don't even have radio stations, but they're able to access podcasts and all that. Attending webinars, I had spoken about this before. You're able to interact with people who are doing what you're doing or who need what you're doing. So you're able to get ideas of how you can make money, learn from other people's mistakes so that you don't go out there and decide that you're doing the Harambe way, the old-fashioned way. And then you do a whole event, hire a place, and then you find it's just you and a selected few. So yeah, these are things that can help you eliminate stuff that you do not need. Engage influencers. Okay, I always insist, do this on a micro level. Write on their followership to get your tweets and post to a larger audience. Work with people who you already know who are famous. I always say the reason why when I have an idea, I post it in my primary school WhatsApp group and high school. There are people who are already in the areas you want to get into and can help you rather than you go online and hire someone you feel has a followership but may not be the right fit for you. An example is, I remember when I did my first swimming championship, it was in Singapore. And of course, I went there, I was scared. I found myself to be the only Black, actually the only one from an African country. And I was thinking, wow, this is bigger than I thought. And then I looked around, I had traveled alone, and there was no media to cover me. So I decided while I'm doing my race, I'll get one of the people watching to do a short video of the race, whether I'll become first or last. And I will share this video with my peers and see, what comes out of it. So I shared it in my primary school group, and one of us happened to be working for a media house, a famous media house in Kenya. And before I knew it, I shared it at around 10 a.m. and I was still in Singapore. And there was a time difference, but at some point of the day, I kept getting so many messages that I'm on TV. And I was like, it was so real time. And I did not have to pay for it. And I thank him so much. I have done it over and over again. And yeah, that's the way you can engage influencers. Reach out to people who are already in the areas where you want your project to be spoken about. Reach out to friends, people who are already doing, like now, for instance, in this cohort, we have a photographer. So if you need any photography done for your work, we know where to go, things like that. So write on them that you're able to reach out there. All right. Let me see. I think we have reached Okay, we'll take a break and then we'll come back to this. So after the break, we are going to have in groups of 3. How many are we? We are 15. So in groups of 3, that means I'll have 5 groups. No, I'll have 4 groups because I want the facilitators to be just overseers in the groups. We'll come up with a unique fundraising activity. It can be physical as well as virtual. So now we can take a 5-minute break, Cindy.
Actually, I'd want people to take around a 7-minute break because health is important. People should be able to have tea. It's a Saturday. People should be able to go hug their loved ones good morning because we obviously impeached on people's Saturday morning. But I'm really pleased that people have been able to join.
Okay, as we proceed, I like what I'm hearing from Noella. You started by saying you've never fundraised before, and I think you've done more than fundraising with that event. What I'd advise is in line with what Cindy has said, when you're doing a project that is delicate, especially from where you're doing it, like I can give an example. When I am doing a project for the children's home in Kakamega, it's called Daisy Center and School Bukura, Kakamega. Because already it is illegal to have minors in videos and all that. Yet at the same time, I'd like to document what I'm doing so that I can attract more donors and to support these orphans. What we do, we leverage, we do more of storytelling. We actually write about the event and we pick 1 or 2 children, depending on what the need is, and do an interview with them. Sometimes you can even go to the extent of changing the names for protecting the children. So we are able to talk. Like 2 months ago, I try and do it every 2 months because again, you see, I also have to work. I live in Nairobi and the home is in Kakamega, so on. But what I do is when I visit, what I do is I get those who are really in need. Like during the COVID outbreak, when it just hit Kenya, we got some abandoned 6 children that had to be brought to the home. And among these children, there were 2 girls who had been continuously raped. One was, I think, 7 years and the other one is 9. Out there, a year older each. Story really broke my heart. And the home was not in a position to had 6, but we had to. They didn't have we didn't have a choice. So what I did is I covered their story. The home is run by Caroline, and she was able to, you can always have an extra plate for a needy child. But later when we discovered we need school fees for these children, the girls who have been raped needed medical attention and all that, we had to do this story. So number one, we show when we are doing a photo or something, we show the back or maybe just the legs or something. Then if you're writing a story, you can change the names. So while fundraising for delicate issues, just make sure that your efforts are documented in like the story I did was a blog of less than, I think it was a page or something. Let me just see if I can practically show it to you. Anyway, as I look for it, I can still continue advising. So you're doing the authority, just can change the names. And that's the way someone is going to see the project and see that it is actually a real project and be able to buy into come on board and support. I like what Wangeshi Munene is doing. It's in line, it's almost similar to what you're doing. I've just read in the chat, Publicity and Sustainability Officer for a nonprofit that helps women and girls who live in marginalized areas. Mentoring and mental health support. She's also looking to fundraise. You see, like I said about cohorts and events that we attend, even as this masterclass, I can already see that Noella and Wangeshi will really help one another in this fundraising journey. For sanitary products, I also have a connection that I can give to Wangeshi that will also assist in that project. Okay, she says when it comes to documenting, you can create consent forms and explain why you need to document, especially to the group of women and youth in your CBO. With that, they'll be comfortable knowing that their pictures will not be distributed for malicious intent. As for kids, they can't give consent unless apparent signs. That's very true. Yeah, thank you so much, Wangeshi, for that. So Noella, well done, doing well. In fact, when I was saying that we need to look for fundraising ideas in groups of 3, I'm seeing Cindy did it better. When we are practically sharing what we've already done, then that's more in line with what we need. Celestine and Edwin and Daniel, I don't think I have learned about what you do, but as I start with the proposal writing, you're the ones that I'd like to learn more as I speak to the rest of us. Yeah, so let's jump right into it. I can see time is fast spent, but don't worry. What I'm going to share is, it's very easy for us to go through, and at the end of this, all of us will have proposals for whatever we are doing, and they shall attract the right group of people. So we'll start with the do's, don'ts. Actually, it is about do's, don'ts, tips, types, and also finally the structure. So I always start with this. Is it a hit or a miss? Whatever you're doing, the approach that one takes to sell an idea will determine if the funds will be granted or not. As you can see, this guy we have his specs or shades or whatever they are, they look stylish. And then he has a kagoti there. Okay. Edwin, is this what they call the silver fox? Am I need just a normal goatee? Edwin or Daniel, tell us.
No idea about it.
Okay. The aim, actually why I placed this guy here, I want to talk about, before we even write this proposal, number one, how have you presented yourself or your idea? If you're going to have to take this proposal physically, some of us have natural twists. Trust me, that's a name I called them just to make them look funky, but in short, we have dreadlocks. So you want to go to you want to present yourself in the neatest way possible. You don't want people to have misconceptions of who you are. So number one, if you're having your hair twisted, make sure you retouch your hair, make yourself look presentable, comb your hair if you want it short, and cut, both ladies and men who have, if you're a lady and you have a bob cut, give us those waves that look like you didn't sleep on a pillow, you slept standing, just make sure you present yourself, whether it's going to be a photo that you're presenting or you're literally going to walk into this organization that you want to fund your project. If you're going to dress up, I'm the kind who says dress to be addressed, not to be undressed, to be addressed. What I mean is dress in a way that when you walk in, you command the presence and you look confident. Wear something that you're not going to keep pulling up or pulling down. Wear something that you're not, when they just make sure that you're very comfortable in what you're wearing. I keep saying that what is preferred is formal or smart casual, but dress according to what your idea is. For instance, when I'm walking into Kenya Swimming Federation to ask for funds for whatever reason, I'm allowed to go in a tracksuit because swimming is a sport. So if you're going to, if you're actually addressing maybe a CBO in Pokot for the women, you can actually dress as they dress. Again, it makes it easier for you if you're going to be, if you're going to look, you have something in common with them. So these are things that you can actually research on while you're preparing your proposal, your idea, you're packaging it in a way that is going to attract others. And remember what I shared earlier about people invest in people they believe in. Yeah, so for first impression, just go out of your way to impress. A proposal will be an essential marketing document that helps cultivate an initial professional relationship between an organization and donor of a project to be implemented. So first word that I've highlighted is marketing. From our marketing classes, that I've had in the past, and maybe you have also, your marketing budget can go up to 30% you can actually use up to 30% of what you want to achieve. Like maybe you want to your budget is 100 shillings. You can use 30 bob to make this idea be known, as the other 70% is used in other things. So marketing really covers a bit of your project. So if you're right, don't shy away from actually investing in it. If you need to use a professional to do it, if you need to buy a template online that will help you have a custom proposal, you can do that. Although nowadays, look around, we also have accelerators of our own. I like to build Kenya, and we have people who are already doing these things within. So if you can find someone who can walk you through your idea of the proposal. So the reason why I started with marketing is because now, even as we go to, it helps cultivate an initial professional relationship. So this document is the link between I, Anne, and Anne being Anne plus the idea or the project, and the donor, stroke investor, stroke sponsor, stroke government organization, wherever you're going to get these funds from, being the organization. So you've seen I put a love heart on the right, and it has like a jigsaw puzzle. So I always say this document is the one that connects the project to the organization, to Anne, and the donor. The donor being the one who's going to give you the funds, or loan you the funds, or invest in you. Maybe even if you're supposed to refund the money later, but the fact that they've given you the capital, then that means this document is very important. So a great proposal should tell a story. I want us to look at it to demystify all this jargon and thinking, oh my goodness, business plan, oh my goodness, I didn't go to business school, I can't do this. No, no, no. Just think of it as a story. Just the way I'm talking right now, I'm telling you about how to write a proposal. That's the same when you go down and type about your idea, type it, make the reader get glued to it. Give even the funny sides of the project idea process. Like for instance, maybe the first time you went out looking for the gadget, you didn't know its name. Those are things that you can talk about when you're giving the introduction. Persuade the donor that this project is meaningful. Remember, people only invest in what they believe in, so they have to see meaning in what you're doing. Convince funders that your organization is legit and capable of achieving the goals and objectives of the proposal. Again, this goes to how do you display yourself? How have you branded yourself out there? It might not be an organization per se. It could be you and two of your friends have come up with this great idea. Just open a page, even if you're not reached the level of our website, although there are also websites that you can start with that are very affordable. But you can just start with a page. It could be on LinkedIn. It could be on WordPress. WordPress has a very good platform where you can showcase what your organization is doing. Pictorial, again, like I told my last stories that you have done, short paragraphs that you're able to showcase yourself, because this person you're going to give this proposal to, the next step they will do is research. You have to do their due diligence to find out, do you exist, do you not, and so on and so forth. So these are just ways of preparing yourself on how, when you're doing the proposal, it finds you ready. Like sometimes, if I can give an example, is you find something, you apply for something, and before you know it, they're getting back to you, and maybe the page they have opened has nothing to do with what you're doing. For instance, if it's LinkedIn and they go to LinkedIn and they find that you did not update your LinkedIn page, maybe the last thing it's reading is your campus, you graduated, yet you have vast experience in the company you're currently working for. So just prepare yourself so that when they look out for you, they find you and they find you current. The do's and don'ts, I'll rush into this because this is, yeah, it's important here, but things that we've had. Make sure you make contact with a real person if possible, especially during this pandemic times. Then you can actually do a Zoom. You can ask for a Zoom, but if possible, try and find out this company I'm going to, where are they located? Am I able to see because by the time you're writing the proposal, you will plan ahead, plan on time, don't rush it, just make sure you have enough time. Do your research and know who else is working in it. This will help you when you're talking about the overall background of the area you want to cover or the problem you want to solve, and then you're able to think the strong points about why your idea is the best, and you want to include that. Involve others in editing the proposal. This is very important, especially because there are things you might overlook. There are words you might use that are not, might not be, they are correct words, but might not be the ideal words for whatever you're writing. Yeah, so just pass the document to other people. I mean, get people around you to talk about it. Tell them, do you think I should mention that I am a parent or something? Do you think I should, you know, some small things here and there, because sometimes the people you're involving could already have dealt with the current company or individuals that you're looking out to send the proposal to. If you're going to use acronyms, explain them. Not everyone knows what you mean. Like maybe the words, the swimming words that I may know and I have used since I was 4 years, someone else has never had. So if I'm going to use acronyms, then I will have a page under the appendix section. I'll explain that, where I'm going to explain them. You might not even explain them within the document, because we want to make the document as short as possible. So you will have them at the end. In the appendix, you have a section where you can explain all acronyms. Keep it short, not more than 10 pages. This one here is case to case. An average proposal should be not more than 10 pages. However, you can have a proposal 3 pages long. It doesn't have to go up to 10 pages. Just make sure that the structure that I'll give below covered in all the pages. I mean, the 3 will cover all the structures. You can have a proposal that's up to 20 pages, depending on what the product is, the project is, or if it is a company that you are starting, it might require a longer proposal. But again, following the structure. So you'll balance it. Maybe if you're doing a 10-page proposal, you know, maybe summary should be half a page, you know, background should be 1 page, like that. So if you feel like your proposal should be longer, it doesn't mean that now you add more to it. You just follow the same structure and multiply the pages by 2 to make it longer, rather than make a short summary and then a long background. I hope I'm clear so far.
You're clear to me. I'd like to hear if there are any questions. Edwin, you've unmuted yourself. Do you have a question? Or not? Any questions?
Not really. I just wanted to say that she's clear.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, then again, I still, sisitiza, I still, what is it called? We still have, I still insist that you have to be as realistic and as natural as possible when you're pitching. This is both in the proposal as people are reading, and also when you get the one-on-one meeting, whether it is physically or virtually. Remain in the proposal, don't detour from the topic. Remain focused in what you're talking about and as realistic as possible. Try and not be emotional. We are not begging per se. We are actually stating what we require, and yeah, and we believe in what we are doing anyway. So that is really important. Now, from the side of the don't do a general proposal. What I'm going to give you today is you could see it as a general proposal, but like I said, depending on what you're doing, it's going to vary from one person to the other. And as we go through it, I'll make sure I'll cover each of you, how we are going to see which proposal works for who. When working in your budget, be careful not to include things which are not relevant to your project. That's quite straightforward. Just include what you need for the project. You could have a miscellaneous at the end and explain why you have it, but yes, just stick to what you require, entitled to. This could be debt. Maybe you already started this project and you owe money to a specific group of people or someone, this is something you want to include, and I'll show you where that is included. Don't hide that information. It's very important because when the donor comes on board, there's transparency in everything you're doing. So if you had a genuine debt and the donor comes on board and you want to pay that debt out of the profits, for example, you don't want to look like you are mishandling funds. Don't send so much documentation that the reader gives up before they begin. So stick to the relevant, and even in the appendix, the ones that are required is what you're going to do. Don't assume that the donor knows you. Yeah, explain yourself, like I said, with the photo ahead, introduce yourself, package yourself well, that they're able to know you. Yeah, just introduce yourself, everything you have done. Don't feel like some things are minute. It could even be a project you did while in high school and is in line with what you're doing. Don't make the project fit the donor criteria at the expense of what you think needs to be done. These are, by this point I meant, for instance, maybe your project requires 20,000 shillings. You're raising funds that is 20,000 shillings. And because of your efforts and everything that you've been doing, you get to attract a company that, a big company, their net worth is in millions of dollars, don't now change the proposal so that it can attract more money. Get done with this proposal, get the funds that are equivalent to this proposal, and also show your intention of future projects that you'd like to do with the donor. So you can actually use this card for now, get your funding, as you also put the donor on board for future projects. Okay, so now this is in light, the same as mostly of what you'll find it in the document, so I don't need to go through it. The layout tips, we'll see them as we go through. We use headings, wide margins. As I say in Microsoft Office, margins are good. Already, if you're using Word or Excel or PowerPoint, they give very good margins. And then you check whether you've done it with whichever platform. PDF also gives you a very good margin, not too wide and they're not too whatever, they're not too small. When you're binding and stapling the document, if it has to be a physical document, be very careful. This is a common mistake where some pages can be upside down. You just don't want anything that will make your proposal be hard to manage, to read, and be careful when you're doing this. Always number your pages. Use a font that's easy to read. Calibri is good. Cambria. All this has also been given. You can also use Times New Roman or yeah, most of the fonts that come automatically when you open Word are able to be used. And then you can do 1.5 spacing in your writing so that it's easy to read. Someone can see the words as they are. You're not crowding the text. Okay, we'll do that. The project will continue as we are writing. So on to the structure of the proposal. This is the cream on our cake. So we'll start with the title page. It's just like even human beings, we have a face and then the body. So on this title page, you're going to have the title of the proposal. So let me open an actual proposal that we can see as we go. So the title of the proposal, and then you have the name of the funder to whom proposal is being submitted, and then name of organization submitting the proposal. That is you. It could be an organization. It could be just the name you've given to the project. Include your logo, and then contact person and date. So let me just do the new share. I want us to go step by step with this. So here is an example of what I mean. So you see here, the name of the donor that I'm reaching out for is the Kenya Swimming Federation. So that's the name is clear there. Make sure the font is legible, and then submitted by. Here I put my company name, my logo, and then it's very important to put the postal address, especially because most of these organizations, that's how they communicate, because what they're communicating back to you might be forms for you to fill and so on and so forth. So you have the name of the company, your postal address, and your phone number, as well as your email address. So you've given this potential donor different ways of reaching you. Even if they want some clarification in whatever is in the proposal, then they can reach you. Then after that, we'll need the project's title. For this particular one, it was launch of my mobile app, Ogilea, for swimming teachers and coaches. So here, write the title in a way that whoever is reading the title can already have an idea of what the project is. Don't be scared of making it long. It can go up to 2 lines or 3 lines, depending on making sure that you capture the reason for the project, who it is for, like here, it is an app and it is for swimming teachers and coaches. So an example is maybe for Angeshi, the projects could be you're doing a campaign for mental awareness, for mental health and or peer mentoring and
How much?
Hi Stella, welcome back.
Thank you.
So maybe Karibu. So maybe Wangeshi, yours could be, the title could be a campaign on peer mentoring and mental health. Maybe you want to do workshops and everything, then you write and proceeds will go to purchase of sanitary products. Then you have to put the contact person's name there. It could be you, it could be any of your team members. Like I said earlier, when you're doing the proposal, first of all, find out the criteria. Are you eligible, whether, excuse me, you're eligible for these funds or not? It could be gender-based, it could be for the youth, it could be an open one, all those count. So if your company, 3 of us, 2 are men and I'm the lady. So this particular proposal was for youth, women, and those living with disability. So the contact person automatically is me. And it was for last year, just before the pandemic. Just a second. Okay, so in this title page, remember this is the face of the proposal. Just make sure anything you would like to be known can be summarized in the project and they can reach you. So now then we go to, now we are going to executive summary. Executive summary is, I usually say one paragraph, which will fit half a page is good enough. Because like when you're reading a novel, this is the place where they call the forward. So it's like you want to preempt someone of what the whole entire document is about, but you want to narrow it down to a paragraph. So you're going to describe the project, aim of the project, duration, the elements you feel that are important, location of where it is going to be, what you're going to cover and what is expected from the donor. You are telling them, here I am, this is what I'm doing, and this is what I need from you. You've attached the value that is required without necessarily missing out on the importance of the project. I was trying to see, when I do that, are you able to see the actual proposal?
No.
What can't you see, Noella? Oh, yeah, you have to change the screens. And then there's a tapping sound that is very loud. I don't know if there's a way to minimize it on your end, Anne. It's like
there's a tapping sound.
Like a keyboard tapping sound, like tack, 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 tack. Or is it just me? Maybe it's just me, but it's
when I'm changing.
Yeah, perhaps. So you'll have to also screen share your other screen. So you'll have to keep changing back and forth between the presentation and the proposal. We can't see the proposal right now.
Okay.
Oh, that's good.
Okay. Okay, I think I was typing, maybe it was my nails on the keyboard. Sorry about that. So here's an example of an executive summary. In my case, I think it was 3/4 of a page. So I'm able here to capture the company, what we are working on, the project being a mobile app. And then what the project will do, it's going to connect the coaches with clients. Then you can just go through this, but I've included in bullet form what the project is going to include, what we require, and the activities that are going to take place. Then here, if you're dealing with, you already know the numbers. For instance, if you're dealing with the women and you know how many women you want to reach in terms of sanitary towels or empowering, then you're able to write the figures there. And then usually I'd advise, if it is something that you want, it's a large project, you can start from a pilot. You start with a pilot group. So here is where you can say, you can explain what the pilot will be like, how many counties you want your project to be in. Yeah, basically you're just summarizing the whole thing. Like you can see in the last paragraph I've written, now use what we shall cover as Ogelea, because at the end of the day, I always say your project is your baby. As much as you're looking for funding for it, also find what you can do for it concurrently as you're receiving the funding. Are you doing in what? Play your part as much as you expect others to come on board with you. So that is very important to be captured, so that the person you're speaking to also sees that you have also placed your sweat in it, not just expecting everything to be done by others. Then we can go to the next page is a table of contents, a very important page, because when the proposal is sent out, remember this is a document that someone will have for long, not just, it's not something that will expire like a status in 24 hours. So this page, the person you're speaking to might periodically want to check, okay, I need to see their budget, or I need to check on what a specific title or a specific section of the proposal. So this table of contents helps them maneuver the document in a way that it's not cumbersome for them. And it's important for all documents, not just a proposal. So we also have a practical example here. Make sure it's neat. In Word, you're able to do a table of contents. We have all those headers and everything. There's a way that it helps you. So if you're going to do it in Microsoft Word before you convert it to PDF or so, you're able to be guided. The fonts usually, I mean, the required size, font size is usually 12 for the body and 14 for the headings. So you can see table of contents, the size there is 14, but when I start to list the contents themselves, I'm on font 12. And just making sure that also your line spacing between like executive summary and table of content, there's enough space here, you're breathing. So you can actually do 1.5 spacing and you'll be okay with that. So these are just basics that I wanted to show us practically. To the next page, after that, we are going to go to the context. Section 1 of your proposal is the context. Context means there is an, but an belongs in this space. So there is your project, and your project is going to be administered in a specific place. So here in the context, you have to start with the background of your space. Like if you're doing agriculture, you're going to start with background of the farmers in your area. It could be the whole country, it could be a county, it could be a neighborhood, depending on your jurisdiction, how far you want the project to go. So I've just briefly explained about swimming and the need, how many people require the service, how many will offer the service. Yeah, and basically you're just explaining that yes, whatever you're doing, there's a saying that says there's nothing new under the sun. However, there are various ways of tackling it. So here you're explaining generally what is there, and now from there you're able to build into why this project, why do we need your services in this area. So this will cover, for me it covers, it could also be half a page, it could be a full page, depending on how much you need to cover. So be careful not to squeeze it so much because you're trying to make it half a page, or don't give stories that go up to 3 pages because it's just a brief of what of the area that you want to cover. So now after you've already spoken about the problem and the project that the project is solving, and you've shared the area, we are going to go to, sorry, I've skipped myself, go back. Sorry about that. After you've shared about the general area, now we are going to go to your specific company, and we're going to talk about what you're already doing. Like say when you start project, or when you started researching about it, and you talk about it, and you can also mention how many have been in your team. One of the things I always advise is, even if you are a founder, solo founder, you might have already interacted or have brought people on board on the project. For example, maybe you already have someone who's running with you. It could be an IT person. For this particular proposal, I was doing an app. So definitely I needed an IT person to help me come up with the app. So those are people you can mention in this background, because again, people invest in a project that is not per se a sole proprietor. In this sense, it is easier for a group to be accountability rather than for an individual. So in this place, you can mention the people who are already on board on the project. You can mention them maybe as, if you are more than one founder, you can mention them, and also mention your board. The board of trustees sounds like a big word, but sometimes it's people you have already, like before I said, you have to let people know about this proposal, people you can talk to. It could be your lecturer. These are people who you can ask them whether they can be part of the board, and then you can mention them in this document. That one, if it is board members, you can use it as an appendix. It could be 2, it could be 5. Yeah, just find people who believe in the project and are able to be in this space. So after that, you can offer what you do, you can talk about it. Here you can also mention things that are not in line with the current project. Like among, this is a project you want a proposal for, however, these are other things that you're already doing. Some of them could be even things to do with school. Maybe you're actually pursuing a master's in line with what you hope to achieve as your idea, or you're lecturing a class, say, that's teaching people on the dangers of maybe, anyway, whatever you're doing, you can mention it here. And if it's something that is already reported, doesn't have to be an annual report like I've written here. If it is something that you have already documented, then you can have it as an appendix. For instance, maybe here you can mention that you have run a Zoom meeting that was recorded, or was you have a report on a Zoom meeting that was helping women realize their needs in the society and everything, then you can put it in as an appendix. So here you're just going to sell yourself in a paragraph or 2. Yeah, these things are available after the class. So let me just run through so that we don't miss out. So after you've done the context, this next section is the objectives. You go straight into what this project is about. Why are you doing this project? So you can do this in bullet points. These are things maybe you already have written somewhere. You have a document with your vision, with your goal, purpose, what you're doing. So here is where you're going to mention that. It can be 1 page, it can be half a page. Let me show you how I showed it in my, sorry about that. So in my actual proposal, I decided to share the objectives of my company. So these are things that maybe when we're registering, you have to have them captured. So you have to be very consistent with this. if you are having these objectives in this proposal, any other documents that you're going to attach in line with while giving the proposal should also have the objectives as they are in the proposal. So these are things that you might need for more than just a proposal for years, like what you have stated down as the reason why the project is in existence. So you'll have also your goal, your mission statement, yeah, listed here. Also, this you can get a professional to help you in the wording, because sometimes we are short of words how to write down. But when you speak to someone about the idea, they might be able to help you package the wording in a way that you're able to show the objectives here and someone is able to understand what exactly you mean. So after this section, after we are done with the objectives, section 3 is now the process, the envisaged process. Here is where storytelling comes in play. This is the body of the proposal. This is where you want to explain your project as though you're talking to someone who has never heard about it, someone who does not know the technical part of it. You know, you want to explain everything. You want to explain the words. Even you can explain here why you came up with the name. Why is the project called Ogelea? Because now you see, for me, it's obvious. Ogelea means to swim in Swahili, but I may be giving the proposal to someone who is not a Swahili speaker. So I have to explain why Ogelea and go ahead and explain, okay, if you're doing the app, why not use a name that is universal? Why stick to the same name? Things like that. Here you have to give yourself, don't rush yourselves, because now here you can go up to 2 pages. Remember when we used to do compositions in primary, finally, this is your time now to be able to use rosy language to depict your intent, like what you want to do. You just don't write there in bullet form. Building a kaosh. You want to talk about the kaosh. You want to talk about how the youth in that area are going to benefit from it. You want to talk about the people driving clean cars, how they feel about it, and all that. So if you're talking about a non-profit idea, you want to maximize on the gain that these people are going to receive, how these women will be able to, to walk in the streets because they have sanitary products, as opposed to staying home for 5 days while they are on their menstrual cycle and all that. So take your time here and talk about the process of like I always say, from when the seed hits the ground to when it becomes a tree. So now I divide the process into 2 days, the overview, where you're going to talk about how this thing is manufactured. How, if it is a service you produce, maybe you provide a service, you talk to people about wellness, mental health and everything. What is required? What are the things maybe you need to research? So you need a laptop, you need internet. Then at the end of it, when you're speaking to them, if it is a physical seminar, you need books, you need workbooks for them. And then after that, you need follow-up. So you require a way to locomote from one area to the other to find out a month later, how is this person still doing and all that. So all these things you're going to capture in this overview. And then the second part of the process is usually the output. Okay, as you can see, my overview is quite long. It takes 2 pages. And then the output, this is the second part of the process. So in output here, you're going to do it in bullet form. Again, don't be scared to make it long. Include everything that is going to come out of this project. Include in point form that they're able to just read and see, okay, if I invest 5,000 shillings in this project, this person who is going to benefit is going to get these 10 things. If I invest 1 million shillings in this project, this community is going to benefit in this way. So in this output, put everything that you feel is going to come out of it. How the process is going to be, how many facilitators, if you need gadgets, put it there. What is going to come, And again, of course, like I always say, in everything you have to report, because now the reporting has to be detailed. How you report is in many ways. Here, if you feel like you're going to also do videos and you're going to do podcasts, include it there in your output. And these are going to, they're like explaining why you need that amount. Yes, you need the money, but now they need to know why is it that you need 10 shillings and not 1 shilling. So here is where you're going to explain that and be very open in what you need, because that way when you get the funding, you're able to sufficiently produce objectives that you've raised the funds for. Section 4 is conclusion. So remember, whatever we've been doing so far, we've introduced the problem, we've introduced our solution. We started by stating why we are looking for these funds. And then we have introduced after when our solution meets the problem, what is birthed out of it. Now, all this that we have been talking about, we want to summarize it in this page. Usually it's half a page to 1 page. Remember, this is case to case. If again you're dealing with a huge project, for instance, maybe you're doing all the 47 counties in Kenya and you want to provide youth empowerment, then that means all the output, this conclusion cannot be 1 page. You're going to be able maybe to conclude maybe the counties that you feel need more funding, the ones that you feel need more human contact, the ones that you feel need more follow-up, and so forth, so on and so forth. So all this, remember, is in point form. This conclusion page, you'll find there are some people who really want to give you the funds, but do not have the time to read page 1 up to the process. But when they read the conclusion page, they're able to say, this is something I'm interested in pursuing, I'm interested in investing in. So like if I show you practically in my conclusion page, I've said what you're requesting for. And then I've said what the project is aimed at. And then our intention is to pilot the project in 2 counties. Again, here you mention your cover. How far geographically are you planning to cover? Do you want it to be Kenya alone, or do you want it to be East Africa? Or do you want it to be an estate? Maybe you want it to be Buruburu. Yeah, this is the place to show. And then emphasize why it is important for your project to be. Like now bring, if you can go to the Big 4 agenda, now that applies to us as Kenya, make your project tied to 1 or 2 of the agendas and give it more reason as to why this project is supposed to take place and why you feel that the funding will make your idea realistic. And then you can also include here whatever support you have. Like I've said here, we already have substantial support from and have entered into a partnership with private clubs. This is a good pointer. Like for instance, when you're writing a proposal and you can see like Wangeshi and Noella, you somehow are in the same space. So if you're writing a proposal and you feel like you want to broaden your wings and cover other counties apart from Pokot, Noella, you can approach Wangeshi and tell her, there's this proposal I'm doing to this organization, and I feel that because I also want Naivasha to be included in the pilot program, then we can partner in this. So such things always require a written contract or something, because especially if you're already working with an organization, then one of the things this will help you in winning this proposal, winning this grant or whatever it is. The one giving will see that you're already working with another firm and it is successful. So they will know that even when they come on board, then they're not bound to lose. Where is it? Okay, so that's it. Then again, you can also share about your track records. Here, you're going to need to show your reports and financial documents. All that can be done under the appendix, but you name them in the conclusion, so that even the person reading knows what they're going to expect in the attached documents. Yeah, so conclusion here, for me, I did a page. I managed to do a page and covered most of the things that were required. So also there you might, again, you might need to consult. It might not be a professional, it can be even someone you're already working with in the same project, and they'll remind you, oh, you forgot to write that even the eggs, the health benefits of eggs and why you want to increase your stock. Okay, then section 5 is the budget summary. In your proposal document here, you just do it in summary where you can have the totals. Like what, for this particular example here, it's a 2-year project and how much they need year 1, how much they need year 2. And then you describe what the money is going to be used for. So if we can go to the actual proposal for, mine was a 3-month project. I still believe I'll have it done after the pandemic, because it has to be physically done and it's quite interactive, human contact. So in my budget summary here, number 1, you start by stating where the full budget is. For my case, it's in Appendix 4. And then in brief, we are asking the Kenya Swimming Federation to provide the sum of 500,000 shillings in month 1, 300,000 shillings in month 2, and 200,000 shillings in month 3. Then you also show what it will cover. So in this specific proposal, my budget, where you're seeing I have written 0 shillings, that is going to be covered by Ogelea. So what we are asking for is what I have included in terms of figures. So remember in your budget, when you're stating, which I already also stated in the executive summary, also here is where you're going to point out whether there are any other people already investing in your project. Sometimes it can be a monetary investment, and sometimes it can actually be people who are in terms of what is written related to by Ogelea Africa from bootstrapping done by the directors. Then private clubs within the county, the 2 counties have agreed to cover the direct material grants. A letter from each of the club heads to this effect is included. So in case you're already in partnership with another company or another donor, feel free to include their letter. This is very important because sometimes money attracts money. People will invest in a project where they know people are already actively investing in it. So this is nothing to shy away from. Just include what areas the other investor is covering and what areas you expect this new donor to take up. Another example could be in the children's home in Kakamega. We already have someone who supplies the girls with sanitary towels. So you see, this is something good to include when I'm having a project about the youth, and maybe in the project it includes girl child and the well-being of a girl child. In other areas, it could be a food program. But it is good to include that in this food program, I require of this amount from this organization, maybe let's say Kenchik. But when I'm writing a proposal to Kenchik, I can go ahead and write, our girls are already getting support from so-and-so company. Like for instance, Beyond Colors is already covering the sanitary products cost. That way our girls are able to attend the program because they are comfortable and everything. You just include it, and then a letter from Beyond Colors can be an appendix. And then this is also important. Should you feel that this amount is more than you can contribute, this one is always case to case. I only use this statement when the proposal is being written without knowing how much the donor is able to pay. Let me give an example. For this particular one, I am the one asking for an amount. I'm asking for 1 million divided into 3 months. However, sometimes you're writing a proposal that's already, the call to proposal, they've already called people to apply, and they've said that the grant is going to be so much. So if you already know how much is being given by the donor, the funds are already stated in the application process, then you don't need a statement like the one that starts with should. But if you are writing a blank proposal that you do not know how much they are willing to, give them this option where we ask you to consider funding one of the proposed counties at half the cost of the total requested. Again, it is very important, as I said, to have human contact. If you already had met these people in advance, then they'll be able to tell you that we are willing to fund part of the project. Then this statement is in place. Yeah, and always end the proposal by saying we look forward to hearing from you and hope that we can work together in the future. This is open to say that it's not that after this project, after we get money from you, that we do not want future whatever. So put that very open. You can use different words, this as simple as you can, but you can always, yeah, be creative in it. Then always, the person who's prepared the proposal, you can write down your name. If you have a logo here, again, if it is a project you're doing, you can actually have the project picture here. Very important. Maybe you're doing cups, special cups for maybe children, autistic children, just an example. And you feel like maybe if they squish it, it's like a stress reliever, whatever it is, you're able to put that cup there and, you know, they look at it and they're like, this is like your parting shot, but at the time, they want the proposal again, or it's a document they would want to look at in the future. So yes, and again, we date it. Yeah, so after that, now that's, you see, for this particular one, I actually got to 10 pages. It was not intended, but that's what happened. If you follow the structure, you're able to land. And this is an actual proposal that I handed into Kenya Swimming Federation. And then now to the appendix. I will not be able to share the documents because they're confidential, but now with the appendix, section 6, now you're able to put in your budget. It should be a page on its own. Biography about yourself or anyone else in the project is a different appendix item. You could also have, let me just see there here. Budget tips I've already said about stating the cost, whether there are partners who are already on board. Develop a budget that reflects the true cost for implementation of the project. Be careful not to make a budget that, to write a budget that's been, that doesn't, like an example is, we roughly know the cost of a pen. So in your budget, make sure you have the cost of a pen that is in line with the market cost. You don't want to have a pen that is costing 5,000 shillings, and we know very well a pen should be maybe between 50 and 100, at most 200 shillings. So do your market research and be able to cost your things. Find ways that even the investor feels that you have their best interest at heart. Okay, so for the appendix, now here are examples. If you have any technical information, maybe it's an IT product, tech, or maybe pictures of its agriculture, it's pictures of how the cabbages will look, the ones that you want to graft, you're doing a special graft idea or whatever. This is now technical information, you have it in a page. Then you have the project timeline. You can include the work plan, and I think I have a timeline here. Yeah. So this can help you. It's something you can always edit. It's editable. Maybe in January is when you want to start the, in January is when you want to start the project and it's 1 year long, then you're able to divide the activities in this timeline. So it's like everything you have explained in paragraphs, now you summarize it into this timeline for someone to be able to visualize. Okay, if I invest my money in January and the output of this project is maybe in December, this I will not, the donor or the funder will not keep pestering you in April or May. Why is it that I'm not seeing this? But if they're able to see step by step, by May, the girls are able to start the stitching. By August, the boys are able to create teams and compete in leagues. By November, the women are able to learn how to breastfeed and family planning, whatever. So whatever the project is, you're able to show the donor step-by-step growth as we are proceeding. And then I always say, narrow it down to a work plan. You know, this person is not in your office every day, is not with you people when you're going for the field work, but they want to know, it's accountability. They want to know this is how you're spending your time. So that you're able to divide it in portions that they can see, that they're able to see you are not a scam, or you're not going to misuse the funds. Because again, sometimes maybe according to the funding you require to pay salaries. Remember, you might be employing people. So with the work plan, they're able to see this is how the funds are going to be used. I'm almost done. So I also included a business model, whatever. So if you have, sorry. This is a way of presenting your whole entire project for business in a one-pager. Of course, with the proposal, I'd still advise that another document you can include is a profile of your business. But this page, you're able just to summarize who are your partners, what are the activities, what are the key resources required, value propositions, cost structure, your revenue streams, if it is more than one, customer relationships. You could have testimonials here. Like for instance, you've already dealt with a specific client, like let me remember. Annette has been talking about village to nation. Cindy should have Annette in this page as she's speaking about how she has gained from the masterclass and all these things. Then after that, after this document, when you're presenting this, you've given the client a proposal, but you've given all this information. So you've even given the client a chance to ask for more. This was also an example I wanted you can use for competition. You're dealing with, remember I said you're not operating in your own bubble. So you want to show the client that this is you, our company. As you can see, the circle might seem a bit bigger, but you want to show that there are other competitors in the same field of those who you should look out for and those who are not threats to your company. So they're able to see, okay, wow, when they Google these other companies and they still come out, they Google the same project that you're doing and they still look at yours should still be outstanding. Yeah, there we go. I'm sorry if it was too much to take in, but that is now what a proposal should look like. Cindy, I think I'm done. Any questions?